wish to offer my most loving pranams to our nearest and dearest Swami for giving me this opportunity to speak to you on the topic of watch to be divine. I pray that he'll speak through me and say what you need to hear from him. Dear brothers and sisters, Sairam to all of you. As early as 1967, Swami started using the five-lettered word watch in many of his discourses. Swami is only 9 years old when the wristwatch first came into the village of Puttaparthi. He said it created commotion and wonder at that time. He wrote a limerick on the wearers of the strange contraption and on the leather strip around the wrist. Now, of course, the watch has become a part of our lives, but he laments that the wearer has still not learned the message of the watch, as its potential to arouse the latent divinity of man is tremendous. The five-lettered watch, which stands for W for watch your words, A for watch your actions, T for watch your thoughts, C for watch your character, and H for watch your heart, can be as potent a mantra in promoting the five basic human values of truth, righteous conduct, peace, love, and non-violence as the Panchakshari mantra, Namah Shivaya, in promoting the spiritual progress of a sadhaka. The name watch has 5 letters. The mantra that leads the sadhaka to God or Shiva, Namah Shivaya, also has 5 syllables. Watch is as much a Panchakshari mantra as Namah Shivaya, and if meditated upon, is as meaningful and momentous. Due to shortage of time, I will try to skip over many of the things that I wanted to say. The senses are the prime motive forces for the mind, and the illusion suffers from. The 5 elements have each a characteristic that affects and attracts one of the 5 senses. Sound or ether, which fascinates the mind through the ear. Touch or the air, which draws the mind to itself through the skin. Form or the fire, which manipulates the mind in its favor through the eye. Taste or water, which enslaves the mind through the tongue. And smell or earth, which attracts the mind through the nose. Contact with the external world is maintained by the senses for the sake of these experiences, which yield joy or grief. In order to escape being tossed about on the waves of joy and grief, we should cultivate an attitude of indifference or disinterest. Swami says, be in the world but do not let the world enter you. Be like the lotus on the water, on it, not in it. Water is necessary for the lotus to grow, but it will not allow even a drop to wet it. He says that Ramakrishna said that if you must avoid the sticky fluid in the jackfruit from contacting your fingers when you peel it, you have to apply a few drops of oil on them. So too, said he, if you do not want the world and its reactions to stick to you, have a few drops of indifference applied on your mind. This will lead to the deepest yearning for God. And he goes on to cite the example of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, a 15th century saint from West Bengal. Now Chaitanya went to Vrindavan, where every particle of dust was very sacred to him, since Krishna trod that soil centuries ago. He did not see or hear or touch or smell or taste anything except Krishna at Vrindavan. He was rendered so forgetful to the world around him that he ignored the demands of hunger, thirst, and social etiquette. He yearned for the consecrated food that was offered to Krishna in the temple. But one night, the Lord appeared before him and admonished him for entertaining that one desire too. When at last he gave up the desire also and was overwhelmed with a thirst for him and him alone, Krishna manifested before him from within him. That is the divine consciousness, illuminated Chaitanya in human form. Therefore, Swami says, you should learn therefore the discipline that can make the mind settle on God only and never waver from. The most important, as you know, of the sense organs is the tongue. If the tongue is conquered, it virtually amounts to controlling the senses. The tongue has two important functions, eating and talking. If we can conquer these two faculties of the tongue, we can merge ourselves in the divine self. I wish it were possible. When the tongue stops talking, he says the mind starts chattering. To control the mind's chattering, the intellect has to be awakened and persuade it slowly to turn gradually towards God. Now let's talk of the first letter, W. This reminds us of the sadhana of watching our words. The tongue is prone to the following four kinds of lapses: uttering lies, carrying tales against others, criticizing or scandalizing others, and excessive talking. Abusing others is a sin. Do not let your tongue indulge in such sins, Swami says, and you cannot escape the consequences of your sinful acts. Everything he says has reaction, reflection, and resound, and will come back to bite you in some form or the other. So we should exercise control over our tongue, Swami says. And should examine the word before the tongue starts pronouncing it. Is it true? Will it hurt? And is it necessary? Adhering to truth is one of the basic human values, Swami says. If it's unpleasant to speak the truth because it might hurt the feelings of that person, we should refrain from it by maintaining silence. Swami says the tongue given to us by God is a tool that we can use in order to give vent to our thoughts, our ideas, our feelings, our desires, our prayers, our joys and sorrows. But it does not give us a license to criticize or scandalize others. If we realize we are hurting God in the process as the Atma recites. Moreover, if you find one fault in them, they can point 10 faults towards you, as no one is perfect. So I mentioned yesterday about Swami, how we should cultivate love. And I just repeat it. We should consider always the faults of others, however big, to be insignificant and negligible. Always consider your own faults, however insignificant and negligible, to be big, and feel sad and repentant. By these means, Swami says, you can avoid bigger faults and defects, and you will acquire the qualities of forbearance. In one of the interviews we had in Puttaparthi, Geeta asked Swami, sometimes we don't like the way the center is being run, Swami. Can we express our opinion and tell them how we feel? Swami replied, before you say anything to the committee, you should mull over it for 3 days. Am I saying it because I don't like the members? Is there a personal agenda from which I am trying to seek benefit? Once you get the answer that there is no selfish motive, you should say it very lovingly in as polite a manner as possible. If they take your advice, well and good. If not, you should accept that whatever they are doing is based on their samskaras. We can also learn another lesson too from the tongue. The tongue has no greed. It does not keep anything for itself. It does not store anything secretly away from others' hand, so it can have it all for itself. If a thing is good, the tongue sends it down the throat to the stomach. If a thing is bad, bitter, or rotten, it sends it out beyond the lips as vomit. It has no urge to have anything for itself. It serves others. It puts its own needs last. It does not even keep a trace of the things that pass over it on the way out or in. It may be oil or ghee, cream or jam. The tongue is as clean as before. It has no likes or dislikes. You must also give up greediness accordingly. Do not get too fond of anyone or anything. Do all your duties and give joy to your parents and teachers. But learn also to keep quiet for some time every day and be calm when something happens in the way you do not like. Now let's go to the second letter, A. The second letter reminds us of the sadhana of watching our actions. What this essentially means is every action of ours has to be in conformance with the dharma that is being laid out for our own individual progress and welfare of mankind. Many of you have heard of the International Rotary Organization, and some of you also may be members of this club. And Geeta mentioned earlier about my father-in-law, who has served in many capacities in this organization as district governor of Bangalore City. This organization has 4 guiding principles, including a 4-way test whose members are required to follow. And I think it's good for all of us to know, you know what the test is? Is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it bring goodwill and better friendships? Will it be beneficial to all concerned? So this is one of the things, and it so happened that one time there was a Rotary, Swami came to my father-in-law's place, and he saw that there was a, what should I say, a Rotary, plaque, and Swami looked at it and said, see, and it had listed all these 4 tests. And Swami said, see, this is how every man should lead his life accordingly. Go according to these 4 principles. In one of the interviews we had with Swami, there was a lady who was also present with us. When Swami was talking to us, this lady started interrupting by continuously saying, Swami, please come to our city. We are doing a lot of service there. Please come and bless us. Swami ignored her and continued the conversation with us. Instead of understanding that Swami was not happy at being interrupted, the lady continued to pester Swami by saying, please Swami, you should come to our city. Finally, Swami turned to her and said, I have come to your city. The lady was puzzled and said, Swami, you have not come. Again, Swami said, I have come. The lady continued to argue with Swami and insisted he had not visited her city. Then, looking very sternly at her, Swami said, what kind of rice do you use for seva? She answered, good rice only, Swami. Swami said, no, 2 rupees rice for seva and 5 rupees for the family? Still the lady insisted and repeated, good rice only, Swami. At this, Swami got up, went into the inner room, and came out with a red cloth bundle and said, did you not give this rice a few days ago to the beggar who came to your house? From the rice you had kept for Narayan Seva? Shall I show you what is in the bundle? And he is prepared to take it and open and show it to her. On seeing this, the lady completely broke down and fell at Swami's feet. Then Swami said that when you give something to someone, you should always remember that I am the person who is receiving your offer in the form of a beggar, because I am resident in every being. This illustrates that whenever we wish to do seva to any person, we should be grateful for the opportunity given to us to serve the Lord, and essentially we are serving ourselves in the process of trying to improve ourselves. No discrimination should occur, as Swami says, as you and I are one. Now going to the 3rd letter, T, which reminds us of sadhana watching our thoughts. Swami says our face reflects what is in our mind. All our thoughts and feelings, whether positive, negative, happiness, sorrow, anxiety, anger, everything, and hatred, all reflected on our faces. We should not harbor evil thoughts because they lead to sorrow. And even the thought of harming hurt others may not cause as much harm as they may do to the one who entertains them. It may not cause much harm to us, others rather, but to us. When you throw a small stone in a well, the ripples caused by it spread to the entire surface. Similarly, any thought arising in our mind causes ripples in it, the effect of which spreads to all the limbs of our body. For example, if there's an evil thought in your mind, your eyes will see evil, your ears will hear evil, and your tongue will speak evil. So consequently, your organs of action, like the hands and the feet, will also perform evil deeds. What is the root cause for this sorrow? It's nothing but evil thoughts. All sorts of miseries afflict a person only because of the evil thoughts. As soon as a thought arises in mind, Swami immediately wants us to inquire whether it is good or bad. If it's a bad thought, try to keep it away. On the other hand, he says good thoughts will make a person noble. In many of Swami's discourses you might have heard, Swami saying, Yad bhavan tad bhavati. As are the feelings, so is the result. So everything is a reflection of our inner being. One way to remove these evil qualities from our mind is, I mentioned this before and I mention again, is to chant the Gayatri mantra daily, at least twice a day. And to understand what this mantra signifies, while chanting it helps in the purification of our mind with good thoughts and feelings. You know, the Gayatri mantra begins with Om Bhur Bhuva Swaha. Bhur means materialization. It represents matter, which is subject to change. Gayatri is the presiding deity of our senses. It helps us to master the senses. Bhuha represents the life principle or the vibration. Savitri is the presiding deity of the life principle. And Savitri restored her dead husband back to life with the power of her devotion and surrender. Saraswati is worshipped as Jnana Devata since she confers good intellect and wisdom. So Gayatri, Savitri and Saraswati are present in every man, but we are not able to understand, Swami says, and experience their presence. And that's the reason why we get all these thoughts and we indulge in wicked deeds. Swami makes a very interesting observation when he says, one considers some people as wicked and some others as noble based on one's own feelings. But he says there are no good or bad people in the outside world. He says whatever good or bad you see is merely the reaction, reflection and resound of your own thoughts. Therefore, for everything good or bad, you yourself are responsible and no one else. Even for your good or bad thoughts, you are responsible, not others. And then I would like to give an example of Krishna again, how he wanted to test once the nature of Yudhishthira and Duryodhana. First he called Yudhishthira and said, I have a task to perform, Yudhishthira. For that I need a very mean-minded person who is given to untruthful and evil ways. Can you bring such a person for me? Then afterwards he called Duryodhana and said to him, Duryodhana, a great task is to be performed. For that a noble person is required, who is pure, kind-hearted and virtuous. Now both of them agreed, said, yeah, we'll go ahead and do the task. Yudhishthira went in one direction, Duryodhana another direction in search of the persons whom he had been asked to. But after some time, Yudhishthira came back, what he said? Oh Lord, there is no wicked person in our kingdom. I am the only person who has some wickedness or the other. Please make use of me. But some time back, after, Duryodhana came back and he said to Krishna, Krishna, a thoroughly noble person is nowhere to be seen in this kingdom. I think I am the only such person. If you tell me the task, I'll surely perform it. So, in the egoistic outlook of Duryodhana, all appear to be wicked, but in the humble nature of Yudhishthira, everyone appeared to be good. So what Swami is telling is, whatever the color of the glasses that you wear, everything will appear to you of that color. If your vision is evil, everything will appear evil to you. So Duryodhana was extremely wicked and evil-minded, and Yudhishthira was epitome of virtue. It's very important. So conclusion we can say that both for the wickedness and of Duryodhana and nobility, their thoughts are responsible. Our mind is nothing but a bundle of thoughts, as you know. All our actions are directed by our mind. Our actions are responsible. Therefore, if thoughts are good, mind also becomes good. Swami talks about also cultivating Trikarna Shuddhi, which is purity of thought, word and deed. And every thought and word and deed, he says, should emanate from love. And love binds everyone. And all of us are very aware of the 6 inner enemies, which is Kama, Krodha, Lobha, Moha, Mada and Matsarya. Now I want to go into other things, which is he talks about anger. He says anger is one of the very important reasons because it is born out of a sense of unfulfillment of our desires. It's the harvest of an enslaved mind, because man's lifespan, which normally should be 100 years, is shortened by the misuse of the body. So our life is basically written by our own actions. And man's bad thoughts, hatred, jealousy is sharing our life, and anger shortens our life. When a man gets angry, his temperature rises, the blood gets heated up, he says the nerves get weak, and as a consequence, all the organs in the body get weak. And this weakness may last as much as 6 months, he says. So, and he says, one moment of anger will deprive a man of the energy gained from 6 months of food. So, we have to be very careful, that how we check and control our anger. Swami says there's nothing wrong in having desires, but should limit it as excessive desires cannot be fulfilled. And he is given certain tips to keep our anger under control. He says the first step is to leave the place as soon as anger arises in us and drink a cup of cold water. Then he says, other option, he says go inside and look at your face in a mirror and see how ugly you look when you are angry. So he says, you look like Shurpanaka. You will be disgusted with your own anger and say to yourself, fie on me, I should never give any scope to anger. And even after all this, if your anger does not subside, go to the bathroom at once, open the tap, and put a bucket underneath. As the water starts pouring into the bucket, take that sound as Shruti and start singing the divine name. All your sins will be washed away when you sing bhajans. And you can also take a quick walk for a while. So these are some of the medicines that Swami has prescribed for us to bring our anger under control. Now going to the fourth letter, which is character. He says character is one of the most important life principles to be imbibed. It's the basis for all our behavior, quality, and actions. And control of senses, as implied in the first three letters, that is W, A, and T, is a hallmark of a good character. And he says character development is 3/4 of our life. So just as a sapling has to be tended very carefully, so it can grow into a mighty and healthy tree, in the same manner, character development of the individual has to take place from a very early age, so we can create a good impression and serve society. But it can take place only if we are in good company, he says. And he gives a very good example of the noble-hearted Karna. Karna had, he says, he had a lot of very physical power, in fact more power than even, and very good archer, even better than Arjuna. He was endowed with all these powers, but unfortunately even Arjuna didn't even possess the quality of generosity which Karna had. But Karna was one who would never go back on his word. So though he was endowed with all these virtues, he became one of the 4 wicked Kauravas because of the company he kept. And unfortunately he could not go back on the promise that given by him to the Duryodhana. Because Duryodhana at one particular time, he came to his rescue on a critical mission, so he developed a wrongful attachment to him. And he says, when you associate, you also become a bad person. And in the end result, we all know how Karna met with death, because he made himself remote from God and chose bad company. So, and Swami, one other thing says is also how from the tongue we can learn very good things and how we should not fall into bad company. He says, watch your tongue when you're reading aloud or talking to someone. It moves quickly from one side to another. It moves forward and back in order that the breath can come out as different sounds. And when you're eating your lunch or dinner, the tongue has to move about pretty quickly. Have you noticed that during all this time, the tongue has to be very careful not to come between the teeth? There are 32 of them all around the tiny home with sharp edges like swords, which may cut into the soft, thick tongue and wound it, causing it to bleed. Yet, see how skillfully, how cleverly the tongue moves inside the mouth, escaping the 16 pairs of merciless soldiers that are looking out to wound it. Similarly, you must also watch all around you so as to avoid dangers and accidents. Do not fall into bad company or be led into bad habits. And then he says, speaking of character, he says, Swami, it's important to be good rather than being great. He says, we may have all the education, position, intelligence, doesn't matter. But if a man wants to achieve greatness and wishes to be a good man, then he needs to do the right things. He says, what is the difference between a good man and a great man? He says, greatness is actually determined by worldly attributes. He's able to attract people, enjoy many luxuries and amenities, and he got physical comforts, all kinds of things. And it's related to power, position, or wealth, but this is all transient. Today it's there, tomorrow it may go away. But goodness is a very good quality. It's always, he tries to sustain his own efforts. And it bears a sattvic quality. He says, you should try to develop sattvic qualities, and it expresses itself in pure joy and unselfish service. And he says greatness has a rajasic quality, while goodness has a sattvic quality. So he says we have to distinguish and understand the difference between greatness and goodness. And he cites the example of Rama and Ravana. And he says Ravana was a great scholar, but Rama was equally great as a scholar. But he says he was much more than that. He was a good man. Ravana performed a lot of penance and mastered a great deal of knowledge. But he says the result was ignorance arising from indigestion. And unable to control his desires, he brought ruin. So all his studies could not save him because of his evil qualities. But Rama was devoted to truth and righteousness. That's why even now, after thousands of years, The very name Rama, he says, evokes veneration. Now, coming to the last letter H, the letter says we should always watch our heart. So here Swami is referring to the spiritual heart, not the physical heart which pumps blood into our veins and arteries. He says the heart is the center of all our emotions, good and bad. It has to be watched very carefully so only good emotions come out or manifested. It should expand to include all living beings to feel the kinship with creation. He says the truth must be ever springing forth from our heart. So there's no idea of violence if we have it can never find a place in our heart, essentially. So, and he says the fifth human value, ahimsa, he says, is promoted by the sadhana indicated by the letter H. If the heart promotes good thoughts and feelings, it can never think of violence. Now, Prakriti, as you know, has three dispositions or gunas, which is sattva, rajas, and tamas, which go into the makeup of all our living and non-living beings, and in varying proportions, leading to the appearance of infinite multiplicity in form, nature, and behavior. Since man is a part of Prakriti and has evolved from it, our own personality is a combination of sattva, rajas, and tamogunas in varying proportions, and it comes from past lives. Sattva-guna, as we all know, is a quality of purity, brightness, peace, and harmony. It leads to knowledge, and it's generally associated with the color white. That's why we wear white clothes. Rajoguna is associated with passion, restlessness, aggressiveness, emotions such as anger, greed, grief. Tamoguna, on the other hand, is associated with dullness, ignorance, delusion. And he says the three Rakshasa chiefs, which is Ravana, Kumbhakarna, and Vibhishana, they basically personify the Rajasic, Tamasic, and the Sattvic in that order. But God is eternal, attributeless, he is beyond the three gunas. So a true spiritual seeker will have to transcend the three gunas to seek liberation. So if we wish to keep watch on our thoughts, words, and actions, so we can reach our divine destination, it's imperative that we know what kind of food we need to assimilate through the five sensory organs. Man is endowed with the five sensory organs connected to five faculties of sound, touch, sight, taste, and smell. They are also known as Shabda, Sparsha, Rupa, Rasa, and Gandha. The preservation and development of these sensory faculties is determined on the sattvic food taken through the mouth. The type of sattvic food we take is determined by the fancies of individual taste. We feel satisfied when we take the right type of food through our mouths. Some people mistakenly believe that sattvic food should consist only of milk, yogurt, sweets, and fruits. This is what Swami says. They believe they'll become sattvic by consuming large quantities of these delicacies. But they are absolutely mistaken. Excessive and immoderate consumption of milk and its products awakens and aggravates the rajasic and the tamasic qualities in man. A diet extra rich in milk, curds, and ghee cannot be called sattvic because it leads to the development of the passionate or the rajasic nature. But he says each organ of perception must be provided with its proper spiritual sustenance. So sattvic food does not mean the moderate consumption of milk, curds, ghee, and fruits alone, but the enjoyment provided by noble thoughts, sacred sounds, holy sights, and spiritual discussions. We must develop sattvic sight and spiritual vision, and we must have darshan of the beauty of nature and the divinity of icons in temple. And we should avoid all distracting sights and sounds. A sattvic nature is developed by feeding the eyes with sattvic sights. A comprehensive and balanced sattvic diet must provide sattvic satisfaction to all the sensory organs of the human body. Now, once the devotee asked Swami, tell me how we should generally conduct ourselves. What qualities should we possess? To receive divine grace and attain your holy presence, what acts should we perform? Please tell me the more important of these, the essential things, the chosen jewels. He asked Swami. Swami, what he replied? Oh, it seems Parvati asked Ishvara once. It's difficult to retain in memory the 1,000 names of the Lord. It takes a long time to learn them and repeat them. So please tell me one single name that is the essence of all the 1,000. Similarly, you perhaps find it difficult to grasp all that I write and explain. So you're asking me to tell you about the most important, right? But you see, names have their essence, and the subjects you ask about are different. Though their objective and final result are one, the practices, the paths of activity cannot be one. They cannot all be summarized in one word. But you know what, Swami? He said, I will give you some selected jewels, maxims of conduct that are very important. Collect and treasure them well. Experience them well. Put them into practice and derive joy therefrom. Wear these jewels and beautify yourself. The devotee replied, Swami, this is exactly what I wanted. How lucky I am. Then Swami said, listen carefully. I shall tell you. And he gave 46 maxims of conduct. 46. Since this is a sadhana camp and you're all spiritual seekers on the quest for God, I request you all to bear with me while I go through this big list. I feel it's very important. If you have do you have the time? This is Swami has given. This is 46. This is from basically from the Sandeha Nivarani. You can all go through that, but I'll just read. The first one, Swami says, divine love should be considered as a very breath of life. Number 2, the love or the prema that is manifest in all things equally, believe that love is Supreme Atma. Number 3, the one Supreme Atma is in everyone in the form of divine love. Number 4, more than all other forms of love, one's first effort should be to fix one's love on the Lord. Number 5, such love directed towards God is devotion or bhakti. The fundamental test is acquisition of devotion. Number 6, those who seek the bliss of the Atma should not run after the joys of sense objects. Number 7, Sathya must be treated as life-giving as breathing itself. Number 8, just as a body that has no breath is useless and begins to rot and stink within a few minutes, so life without truth is useless and becomes a stinking abode of strife and grief. Number 9, because there is nothing greater than truth, nothing more precious, sweeter, more lasting. Believe that there is nothing greater than truth, nothing more precious, sweeter, and more lasting. Number 10, truth is the all-protecting God. There is no mightier guardian than truth. Number 11, the Lord who is embodiment of truth grants his sight to those of truthful speech and loving heart. Number 12, have undiminished kindness towards all beings and also the spirit of self-sacrifice. Number 13, you should possess control of the senses and unruffled character and non-attachment. Number 14, be always on the alert against the 4 sins that the tongue is prone to commit, which I mentioned earlier. Speaking falsehood, speaking ill of others, backbiting, and talking too much. It's best to attempt to control these tendencies. Number 15, try to prevent the 5 sins that the body commits: killing, adultery, theft, drinking intoxicants, and the eating of flesh. It's a great help for the highest life if these are kept as far away as possible. Number 16, be always vigilant, without a moment's carelessness, against the 8 sins that the mind perpetrates: Kama, Krodha, Lobha, Moha, Mada, and Matsarya. So we need to keep this. One's primary duty is to keep these things at a safe distance. Number 17, the mind speeds fast, pursuing wrong actions. Without letting it hurry like that, remember the name of the Lord at that time or attempt to do some good deed or other. Those who do thus will certainly become fit for the Lord's grace. Number 18, first give up the evil tendency to feel impatient at the prosperity of others and the desire to harm them. Be happy that others are happy. Sympathize with those who are in adversity and wish for their prosperity. That is the means of cultivating the love for God. Number 19, patience is all the strength one needs. Number 20, those anxious to live in joy must always be doing good. Number 21, it's easy to conquer anger through love, attachment through reasoning, falsehood through truth, bad through good, and greed through charity. Number 22, no reply should be given to the words of the wicked. For your own good, be at a great distance from them. Break off all relations with such people. Number 23, seek the company of good men, even at the sacrifice of your honor and life. Pray to God to bless you with the discrimination needed to distinguish between the good man and the bad. You must also endeavor to discriminate using the intellect given to you. Number 24. Those who conquer states and earn fame in the world are hailed as heroes, no doubt. But those who have conquered the senses are heroes who must be acclaimed as the conquerors of the universal. Number 25. Whatever acts a good or bad person may do, the fruits thereof follow them and will never stop pursuing them. 26. Greed yields only sorrow. Contentment is best. Therefore, there is no happiness greater than contentment. Number 27. The mischief-mongering tendency should be plucked out by the roots and thrown off. If allowed to exist, it will undermine life itself. Number 28. Bear both loss and grief with fortitude. Try to find plans to achieve joy and gain. Number 29. When you are invaded by anger, practice silence or remember the name of the Lord. Do not remind yourself of things that will inflame the anger more, that will do incalculable harm. Number 30. From this moment, avoid all bad habits. Do not delay or postpone. They do not contribute the slightest joy. Number 31. Try as far as possible within your means to satisfy the needs of the poor who are really God as poverty. Share with them whatever food you have and make them happy, at least at that moment. Number 32. Whatever you feel should not be done to you by others. Avoid doing such to others. Number 33. For faults and sins committed in ignorance, repent sincerely and try not to repeat them. Pray to God to bless you with the strength and courage needed to stick to the right path. Number 34. Don't allow anything to come near you that will destroy your eagerness and enthusiasm for God. Want of eagerness will cause the decay of the strength of people. Number 35. Don't yield to cowardice. Don't give up bliss. Number 36. Don't get swelled up when people praise you. Don't feel dejected when people blame you. Number 37. If anyone among your friends hates another and starts a quarrel, don't attempt to inflame them more and make them hate each other more. Instead, try with love and sympathy to restore their former friendship. 38. Instead of searching for others' faults, search for your own. Uproot them and throw them off. It's enough if you search and discover one fault of yours. That is better than discovering tens of hundreds of faults in others. 39. Even if you can't or won't do any good deed, don't conceive or carry out any bad deed. Number 40. Whatever people may say about the faults that you know are not in you, don't feel for it. As for the faults that are in you, try to correct them yourself even before others point them out to you. Don't harbor anger or bitterness against people who point out other faults. Don't retort, pointing out their faults, but show your gratitude to them. Trying to discover the faults is a greater mistake on your part. It's good for you to know your own faults. It's no good for you to know others' faults. 41. Whenever you get a leisure, don't spend it in talking about all and sundry, but utilize it in meditating on God or in doing service to others. Number 42. The Lord is understood only by the devotee. The devotee is understood only by the Lord. Others cannot understand them. So don't discuss matters relating to the Lord with those who have no devotion. Such discussion will diminish your own devotion. Few more, if you'd bear with me. Number 43. If anyone speaks to you on any subject having understood it wrongly, don't think of other wrong notions that will support that stand, but grasp only the good and the sweet in what was said. True meaning is to appreciate it as desirable, not wrong meanings or many meanings, which give no meaning at all and cause only the hampering of bliss. If you desire, number 44, if you desire to cultivate one-pointedness, don't, when in a crowd or bazaar, scatter your vision to the four corners and everything, but see only the road in front of you, just enough to avoid accidents to yourself. One-pointedness will become firmer if you move about without taking your attention off the road, if you avoiding dangers, and if you don't cast your eyes on others' forms. Number 45, give up all doubts regarding the Guru and God. If your worldly desires don't get fulfilled, don't blame it on your devotion, for there is no relationship between such desires and devotion to God. These worldly desires had to be given up someday. Feelings of devotion had to be acquired someday. Be firmly convinced of this. The last one is 46. If your meditation, dhyana, or soft prayer japa doesn't progress properly, or if the desires you have entertained don't come to fruition, don't get dispirited with God. It will dispirit even more, and you lose the peace, however small or big, that you might have earned. During meditation and soft prayer, you should not be dispirited, desperate, or discouraged. When such feelings come, take it that it's the fault of your spiritual exercises and endeavor to do them correctly. He went through this entire list and he said, you can easily attain the divine principle only when you automatically behave and act in this manner and along these lines in your daily conduct and in all actions. Therefore, hold on to these maxims firmly. Chew and digest these spoken sweets which have been distributed on the birthday festival of your Swami and be happy. Sairam.